Hello, this is the tradesight Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, April 5th and ending Friday, April 10th, 2015. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal 12. Here's a look at the U.S. Dollar Index. Rolled over a little bit late in the week, pushed down by the weak unemployment data that came out on Friday, while the stock markets were closed around the world for the Good Friday Easter weekend. Obviously, we've been saying for a while that this red line is the static trend line that's currently in place, probably the short-term target here on the dollar index. Let's take a look at some of our key pairs that we like to trade. Euro dollar looks just like the inverse of the dollar index itself. Difference is if we get a couple of ticks down here for a day or two on the euro, we're going to get a 13 buy signal on the seeker tool. Just keep that in mind. Here's a look at the pound dollar. Not quite the mirror image of the dollar index, but still generally doing the opposite of what the dollar does. Aussie made new lows on Thursday and then reversed on Friday. New Zealand dollar a little bit stronger than the Aussie. Here's a look at the pound yen. Obviously, very flat actually this last week. Not a very big week. We had a nice week, except for short, but we did have a nice week with our calls. A lot of winners, and it was good overall. All right, let's take a look at the 30-minute bar chart of the euro dollar so we can see the whole week in action. Again, you can see the prior Friday's close, Sunday's open right here on the edge of your screen. And then total range for the week was about 300 pips, which is good enough. We like that. Monday was a slight drift down. Tuesday, a bigger day down. Wednesday was dull. Thursday, a nice move up. And Friday, the gap on the unemployment data. The pound dollar, meanwhile, for the week traded a little less, only traded about 200 shares, and that includes some spikes, so really more like 160 of bulk trading. A little less interesting. We like to see more out of the pound. Ranges on some of those individual days were not good, and the moves are really just very short, 30-minute to hour-long moves. And then other than that, it was a fairly dull week there. Here's a look at the Aussie intra-week, and total range here was pretty abysmal, about 200 pips. All right, so that's a look at all the charts. Not much to say other than that 13 buy signal potentially on the euro if we get a little bit of a pullback. And then let's take a look at the economic data that's due this week. Bank holidays to start the week for Easter everywhere in the world except for the U.S. We do not. So that's going to make the first day slow. Matter of fact, it's everywhere. It's New Zealand, Australia, China, Switzerland, France, Germany, Italy, UK. All right, so we'll have no Forex calls Sunday evening to start the week with banks closed around the world. U.S. is open, but that's late in the session, obviously. Leading indicators out of Japan at 1 a.m. Spanish unemployment change, final services PMI out of the U.S., non-manufacturing PMI out of the U.S., IV PMI out of Canada, jumping to Monday night, AIG services index out of Australia, along with their retail sales, and then they've got the Bank of Australia's cash announcement, rate announcement. Foreign currency reserves out of Switzerland, Spanish services PMI, Italian services PMI, final services PMI out of the broad European sector. We got the Centix investor confidence number out of Europe, services PMI out of the UK, PPI out of Europe. Tuesday morning here in the U.S., the JOLTS job openings, the IBD tip economic optimism number, and consumer credit in the afternoon. Current account and monetary policy statement out of Japan Tuesday night. Economy watcher sentiment also out of Japan. German factory orders. Bank of Japan has their press conference. French trade balance. CPI out of Switzerland. Retail PMI out of Europe. Housing equity withdrawal out of the UK. Retail sales out of Europe. We've got a speech by a Fed member Wednesday morning. We've got crude oil inventories here in the U.S. 10-year bond auction. The minutes from the last Fed meeting get released in the afternoon. We've got the RICS house price balance out of the UK that night. AIG construction index out of Australia. 30-year bond auction out of Japan. Bank of Japan monthly report. German industrial production. German trade balance. Japan's preliminary machine tool orders. China's new loans and M2 money supply. Trade balance out of the UK. Spanish 10-year bond auction. We have a rate announcement out of the Bank of England. Building permits out of Canada. Unemployment claims, that's the weekly number here in the U.S. Wholesale inventories, natty gas, 30-year bond auction, bank lending, home loans out of Australia, CPI and PPI out of China. Switzerland releases their unemployment rate Friday morning early. French budget balance and industrial production, UK manufacturing production, construction output, industrial production here in the from the UK. Housing starts in Canada, their unemployment rate. FOMC member speaking, import prices out of the U.S., federal budget balance out of the U.S. None of our big three. We just had trade balance and NFP the other day, the last 2 days here in the U.S. No CPI this week, no rate announcement, no GDP number, no first look yet. We are coming up to earnings season here in the U.S. soon for the first quarter, and we'll be looking later in the month at that first look at GDP for Q1. But overall, it's a week that does not have any of our major data points. The only thing to worry about would be that Bank of England rate announcement. So we'll be full size every night this week, except for, of course, no trade calls Sunday due to the bank holidays around the world. Everybody have a great trading week, and we will talk to you soon.